What is a nation's history? Is history supposed to be what is written in the books, or is history far deeper than that? For instance, my take is history first covers abstract things like art. Now, it could be arts. For instance, painters are known as artists. Potters are known as, let us say, artisans. People who make embroidery, people who make rangoli. Rangoli is just colored chalk powder drawings, let us imagine, or rice powder drawings made on the ground. And dancers are known as artists. Actors are known as artists with an E, an extra E at the end. And any history has to first reflect arts. The most important thing in life is not what we have been told. We have been told the history of warfare. Modern history will cover World War I, World War II, and why they happened, etc. Alright, we ought to know. We ought to know why certain things happened. However, if you go back to ancient history, literature is a kind of art. Everything is an art form. Even scientific thinking, even logic is a kind of art form. So we have to first understand arts. The arts a civilization mirrored. It's very important to know our own identity. We cannot call it past identity. This is our identity right now. Ramayana is not from the past. Ramayana is happening right now within us. Mahabharata is not from the past. Mahabharata is happening right now within us and outside of us. Itihasas, the Puranas, the Vedas, the Upanishads, everything is happening right now because they mirror Sanatana knowledge, eternal events, eternal turn of events. Now, you let foreigners and invaders walk into a civilization and dictate terms to them and try to change the very fabric and texture of such a civilization. A, is it acceptable? B, is it intelligent to allow them to do that? I don't mean just the language. I mean the very way you will start thinking. We cannot start thinking like the Westerners. We don't need to. We don't wish to. We don't have to. Over a period of time, the invasions, the conquest that happened because India is a sone ki chidiya, a golden sparrow, a rich civilization, and maybe we were not united enough. They are now looking at a new India, the entire planet Earth. Please do not talk about nuclear weapons at all now. Don't say we are a nuclear weapon state. That functions by the Nash equilibrium. Not a single nuclear weapon can be used by anybody. That is only a glorious deterrent. Nobody on planet Earth can afford to explode a single nuclear device. It is simply not possible. It has global ramifications in terms of global warming and climate change, etc., etc. It is absolute mutually assured destruction, not just for two countries. It is mutually assured extinction of the human species. It's an extinction level event. So do not talk about that at all and tell me that America and Russia and China and these countries, they have You also have everything functions on the Nash equilibrium principle, which simply means that if A and B decide to confront each other and A has no option but to adopt strategy A and B has no option but to adopt strategy B, then there is no great payoff for either A or B. Then we reach the Nash equilibrium. You can read about it in Google or Wikipedia. You can keep extending it. So it was proven mathematically as to what that is all about. So let us not get into the detailing of it. We already had the nuclear weapon. It was called the Brahmastra. The Brahmastra is a mantrically charged weapon. You could charge a twig or an arrow with the powers of the nuclear weapon. You can split the atom now just with the power of mantras. For instance, let us say, going back 5,200 years to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dronacharya is supposed to have had the Brahmanda Astra also and the Brahmastra also. The Brahmanda Astra can destroy the entire universe, including Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka, let us say, is a universe / planet of Brahma. Alright, there are 14 different planetary systems. Alright, now Earth is somewhere in the mid layer of those planetary systems, neither too high in terms of evolution nor too low in terms of evolution. A mid-level planetary system. Now, this Dronacharya, Arjuna's guru, who's fighting from the side of Arjuna's enemies, when he saw that the Kauravas, Arjuna's enemies, were losing, he took out the Brahmanda Astra to destroy the entire universe with, and all the demigods and goddesses arrived. Of course, when I say all, we mean practically all. Lot of people arriving also is a great representation. There are 33 crore or 330 million demigods and goddesses who live in Swarga. It is a material planet called heaven in English. Now, they requested Dronacharya not to use that weapon, saying it only means that you helped evil win and destroy an entire universe to support evil. You are anyway supporting the wrong side, sir. Because of this great debt of gratitude that you are suffering from. And only the ego can suffer debts of gratitude. The moment you become egoless, all the debts are gone. All the debts are zero. So people control you through debts of gratitude. Do not let that happen to you. Just tell them, do not control me with debts of gratitude, because you earned good karma by serving me at a particular point in time. Hence everything gets cancelled, account settled. That's all. Right? Try doing that. Try practicing that. Applying that in your real life. So now this Dronacharya, he says, okay, I accept what you are saying. He also has the Brahmastra. The Brahmanda Astra will destroy the entire universe. Then we have the Brahmastra. Brahmastra is just a mantrically charged arrow, let us say, which will function like a nuclear device. Let us imagine, you chant the mantra once, it is, let us say, 10 megatons. You chant the mantra twice, let us say it is 500 megatons. You chant the mantra thrice, let us say it is 1000 megatons. its power increases exponentially depending on the number of times the mantras are chanted. So we have wonderful mantrik Shakti in India. If somebody is wondering, how will we protect India? We will protect it with mantrik Shakti. Krishna clearly says, and like a great friend of mine, you can say my bestie has mentioned yesterday, that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Very right. So how do we know these mantras are powerful? We will know these mantras are powerful when we chant these mantras and see the result. Right? Suppose I chant Om Bhur Bhuvah Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. This is the Gayatri mantra. Krishna clearly says, amongst mantras, I am Gayatri. Yes, PhD level classes will teach. Do not chant the Gayatri mantra during Kali Yuga. Most often the effect is reversed. Krishna can chant, Rama can chant, the avatars can chant, but not ordinary people. The effect will be negative for them. Because in Kali Yuga, only the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna mantra is allowed. Apart from other mantras, yes, Mahamrityunjay mantra is allowed. But Gayatri mantra is not supposed to be chanted in Kali Yuga. It's a PhD level class. You will see a lot of people chanting it. You will see a lot of priests chanting it during the Upanayanam ceremony, during the sacred thread investiture ceremony. The Brahmana priest is supposed to whisper the Gayatri mantra into the ears of his student / disciple, teaching him the Gayatri mantra, verbal to oral transmission. Oral refers to ear. Oral refers to mouth. That begins with an AU. Alpha uniform. Oral, as you all know, begins with O for Oscar. Now, all mantras have a certain power. They are all imbued with a certain power. When you chant the mantra, you will feel the power welling up within you. Okay? Let us come to my life event. I would like you to take a look at it. Once the Gayatri mantra started happening very automatically from within me. It is not as if I was chanting it. Of course I am chanting it. There is no doubt. I am definitely chanting it. But when I say I am not chanting it, I just mean it is automatically welling up from within me. And I cannot stop it. It is like a deluge. I am not able to stop chanting. So I am screaming the Gayatri mantra at a friend's house. Thankfully, we are living in an apartment which is quite big, quite huge. And that is in, let us say, a city in India. And I am screaming the Gayatri mantra with great force. Great force, great energy. Om Bhur Bhuvah Swaha. I cannot replicate that energy right now. I cannot, even if I want to, I cannot replicate that particular energy. That is Kundalini Shakti. I later discovered, one person mentioned that Kundalini Shakti, you can read about all the chakras and all that, Muladhara to Sahasrara on Wikipedia. Anything that is mentioned on Wikipedia, anything that you can Google yourself, I don't want to spoon feed you with that. I'd rather mention real life incidents. All right. Now, this Kundalini energy, this is the first time I am experiencing perhaps in life. This is very, very powerful. This is earth shattering in a way. And I am screaming it for hours. They were all stunned, shocked, surprised. My friend understood maybe because he has seen me for about 40 days prior to that. And this is just a few months after my enlightenment experience. Now, it went on and on and on and on. I cannot control it, I cannot subdue it. Then automatically it reduced in intensity and that energy went back to where it was, is what I would say. We are all forms of energy. And there are two energies here, the apparent energy which the world sees and the hidden energy which the world does not see. There are many occult things in life. I am not in favor of gaining occult knowledge. I am not in favor of chasing occult sciences, occult studies. Because people who are trying to get into that directly will end up doing negative things. First, one should get into the platform of enlightenment. That is what is important. Not into the platform of miraculous things. One should not chase miraculous powers. One should not be enticed by people displaying miraculous power. We are already living a miracle. The body is comprised of 1,000 trillion cells. We began as 2 cells. From 2 cells, how did we become 1,000 trillion cells? And such a beautiful arrangement, a cosmic arrangement of nerve cells and muscles and bones and blood vessels and veins and arteries and the lovely cerebrum, whose capacity is supposed to be 1 terabyte or more than that, whatever. Now, it's an intricate machinery that we ourselves are occupying. Our fingers, our eyesight, our nose, our cognition, our ability to reason, our ability to apply logic, our ability to be slightly inane at times, our ability to be intellectual at times. We are the miracle. We don't need to chase any miracles. The entire universe is a miracle because with just 3 types of charges, electron, proton and neutron. Neutron are basically mesons, positive and negative. So basically with just 3, proton, meson, electron, nothing else. Just a combo of these 3, such fantastic diversity has been created. We are the greatest assemblage of life in the known universe. Aren't we? Planet Earth is the greatest assemblage of life forms. We have not come across any extraterrestrial species yet. And look at what we have done to planet Earth. We are looking at extinction level event. So that is the reason we ought to study history, that Dronacharya was stopped from destroying the universe. Dronacharya also had the Brahmastra. The Brahmastra can be countered by another weapon. Let us say an anti-Brahmastra. Like you have countermeasures these days for everything, even for a torpedo. Submarines have torpedoes, you know that. And there are countermeasures. So from that history we realize, from the Mahabharata war, that war should not be fought with Brahmastra and Brahmandastra. That is what we are learning from that. So these are just deterrents. These are to be used only in exceptional circumstances, when nothing else will work. Maybe when an alien civilization attacks us and they are about, let us imagine, near one of our space stations, and it will take them a week or 10 days to reach us, and we don't know if they are coming to attack us. They might be. Just like in Independence Day, that Hollywood movie. So then we can use it upon them. We cannot afford to use it upon humanity. That is what we have to learn. Because every species has a right to survival. If aliens are going to attack us, then our entire planet Earth will be united as one. As one human species. Right now we are all fighting with each other. But even in fights there ought to be certain lines drawn, certain rules of engagement, certain dignity and poise maintained, certain civilized way of fighting. Right? This is what we have to learn from history. We are no longer barbarians. But if a war is thrust upon us, we should not balk at the idea of war. We should thrust ourselves headlong into it. We should not be on the back foot. We will not be. However, war has to be avoided. Because we are not fighting on battlefields. Here civilian population will get affected. Ancient times, mostly the wars were fought on huge battlefields or pasture lands, etc. The civilian population wasn't affected much. Modern war is not like that. It is almost impossible to just have two armies fighting now. Ancient time, just two armies met on a battlefield, like the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It is known as Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, righteous war, because we have rules of engagement, plus it is 1-to-1. You can't fight an unarmed warrior, and lots of rules were drawn, dignified rules of engagement, and then they fought man to man. The civilian population was not involved at all. If two armies can fight that kind of war, yes, we can call it righteous. On that note, let us part ways now. I am thinking what title to give. Maybe I'll just say Astra/weapons/mantras, something like that, for you to get a vague idea of what this is all about. Anyway, welcome to Funlightenment. Have fun. Have a great day. It's a lovely Monday. There is nothing called Monday morning blues. That is gaslighting techniques. Enjoy the work. You are blessed to have a job. Enjoy the job. Every job comes with its own challenges, with its own positivities and negativities for the entire day. It is just like a battery. The North Pole and South Pole exist. The positive and the negative exist. Enjoy it completely, and we will talk later in the night. Jai Hind.